that do not want to see the Southland move forward and grow strong and utilize its full potential. And because when we do, we're going to have more voice in the American government instead of less. But we're not going to fall for that. Mr. Connor hasn't fallen for it. We haven't fallen for it. We're going to keep stable social relationships in this state and in this country, and we're going to keep law and order. And we're not going to let mobsters take over and run Birmingham. And they're not going to run any place in this country. We have already shown to the dismay of certain groups that we can keep the peace. And we have done so. And that's what has embarrassed many of our enemies throughout the country, is the fact that the people who were injured in Birmingham were white people and not Negro people. And two foreign people the other day came to my office and said, "We've heard about police brutality." I said, "Will you name me one Negro that is seriously injured in Birmingham?" They couldn't do it. I said, "But you know of seriously injured whites." "That's right." I said, "Well, police brutality is always the call of the mob, like you see in Birmingham, but there's been no police brutality. In fact, the white people and I'd say the majority of the colored people in Birmingham have been very restrained in this matter, and they ought to be congratulated. Because, as Bull Connor says, those who are in positions of law enforcement and those who occupy positions in government, if we'll keep the trust and faith with you, we can handle this matter as it ought to be handled. When we do that, we're going to further embarrass our enemies in other parts of the country. I want to also tell you that the issue in all this matter is so important, integration and segregation. You and I know how important that is. I don't have to tell citizen council members how important race integrity is and how important it is to continue to keep a society that will never be mongrelized. You and I know that. But there are other issues also involved that are, of course, no greater than that. And that's a matter of freedom and liberty and maintaining the constitutional processes that have made us free men and women. And when you and I of the Citizens Council and Bull Connor and others stand for what we have stood for over the years, we are standing in the interest of freedom for all the people of Alabama and all the people of the nation, whether they be white or black. Because if the central government can usurp and take away the rights and prerogatives of the states and of local governments, and if they can put it into one centralized terrible force in Washington, then everybody's liberty and freedom.
There is no question that the President has the right to move troops into military bases in Alabama or any other military installation under his command. The question may arise, can the President of the United States use troops to quell civil disorder without a request from the legislature or the governor? First, it behooves all citizens of Alabama to stand fast in complete dedication to law and order. This question does not have to be settled here in Alabama if our citizens will stop answering the urges of outsiders and insiders to take the law into their own hands or commit acts that may injure persons or property. We must continue to use all of our local law enforcement agencies to prevent a reoccurrence of the recent happenings in Birmingham. To these ends, the governor may call out the Alabama National Guard if necessary to prevent such actions and protect life and property. But after and only after all these measures have been fully invoked and failed, should the President even consider any type of federal intervention. The burden is not on the governor or the President, but the people of Alabama to return to law and order and desist from acts to do damage to person and property. We must face the reality that if these acts continue and the President concludes it is necessary for him to intervene, he will do so, and the U.S. Supreme Court is not likely to overturn his action. Our local law enforcement has done a yeoman's job. We must be given every opportunity to exhaust every state remedy available to us without intervention. I stand...
I believe, John, you've been a past president of the Alabama Bar Association.
Yes, I have.
He's been a past president of the Alabama Bar Association. So has Mr. Hill, and so has he's the immediate past president, Mr. Vardaman. John Cone hasn't been a president of the Alabama Bar Association, but he's one of our distinguished, outstanding attorneys. And Marvin, you haven't been past president, have you? But he's a distinguished member of the Alabama Bar.
Governor, how many people are on this sovereignty committee?
We have
This is the total group?
we have 8 on the committee, but one is in Greece, out of the country, and Mr. Kirkman Jackson is is with us in this endeavor, but he's not here today, and Mr. Joseph Johnston. Help reorganize and to organize and to bring people into this organization. Because politicians, for instance, pay more attention to organizations of size than most any other thing that you can think of. And if you don't believe it, you just go to the Alabama legislature, the American Congress, and you let someone come and say, I represent such and such an organization, and when they say we've got 50 members, of course it just doesn't have much impact. But if you say we've got 100,000 members or 50,000 members, well, it has a lot of impact on the politicians, on the people who hold public office. So it's necessary that we do organize and stay organized because we need to organize against those, for instance, who say, I am for segregation, but. Those kind of people, of course, and you hear some of them today, I'm for that, but evidently they're not for segregation. I also want to say this, and I want to say also, and making a talk is not, it may be a little disconnected to you, but I had a conference some time ago with Mr. Robert Kennedy, and we talked for an hour and 22 minutes, and everything that he said and that I said is on tape because I had a recorder in my office, because there's always mix-up in what you say, and for the convenience of all concerned, I had the matter recorded. But I can say to you that my attitude about the covenant that I made with the people of Alabama during the campaign for governor, and the covenant that I made to you on Inauguration Day, was the same the minute after he left my office as it was the minute before he came into my office. Of course, we hear many people talk about our image. Well, in the first place, our image is good in the minds of those who count. When it gets good in the minds of some folks in this country, it won't be good in mine, and it won't be good in yours. We don't have any apologies to make about our image. In the first place, we are further advanced industrially, agriculturally, and economically than any other part of the United States when all factors are taken into consideration. There are people who say, well, you have lower per capita income in Alabama than we have in Pennsylvania. Why, yes, if they'd have had a discriminatory freight rate structure in Pittsburgh plus, and high tariffs in the days when high tariffs adversely affected their section of the economy, and if they'd had all the Reconstruction period up, we are at that point. The federal government illegally has sent military troops into Alabama. According to the President, these troops are sent into Alabama under Title 10, Section 333, United States Code annotated. This section, even if constitutional, is not applicable in this situation, and further, such section is in direct conflict with Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. If it be true that the President really did not intend to use federal military troops in Birmingham, but only to threaten city, county, and state authorities, and if the President can threaten, intimidate, and coerce state and local officials in a situation where street demonstrations have occurred, as they have in Birmingham, then he can threaten any local official at any time for any reason he chooses. The great men who wrote the Constitution did not intend for the President to have any such a military power over civil officials. They did not intend that a military dictatorship should ever arise in the United States. We must preserve liberty and freedom in Alabama and in the nation. This military dictatorship must be nipped in the bud. These federal military troops must be removed from Alabama at once if free government is to continue. This nation was originally constituted as a government of laws, not of men. We are going to find out if this is still true. We are preparing a suit to be filed in the appropriate federal court seeking to confirm the continued existence of these basic constitutional rights of the respective states of the United States and the people thereof. Let me say this, that when you say antagonism, let me say this, that of course that I reject the effort of anybody, regardless of who he might be, if I think that he is playing politics with this situation. I make no charge and impugn nobody's motives at this time. I do say that the President has been eminently incorrect in the sending of troops into this state, and I do not think that he has objectively, I do not think that our side has been realized by him as has the other side, and I relate to the statement the other night he made on television.
Governor, what is your opinion of the senior citizen?
I am unable to understand your actions in directing advanced echelons of a military striking force into the city of Birmingham, while you have publicly indicated that federal troops were only on a standby basis at military installations near Birmingham. Despite your statements and assurances, I find there are presently in Birmingham 2 military headquarters established by federal forces, these being a brigade headquarters and a provisional division headquarters located in downtown Birmingham and staffed by officers and men of the federal military forces, headed by Major General Billingsley, the officer who commanded the troops at Oxford. At Sumter Smith Air Base in Birmingham, there are communications personnel and equipment under the command of federal military forces, identified as a communications control system for the federal military troops in Birmingham. Local newspapers this morning carried front-page pictures of uniformed federal military troops identified as liaison troops marking time in Birmingham. Therefore, federal troops are now on duty in Birmingham. Their unwarranted presence is an open invitation to a resumption of street rioting by lawless Negro mobs under the assumption they will be protected by federal military forces. As governor of the sovereign state of Alabama, I demand that you either remove the national military forces from Birmingham or that you make the true facts of your military operation known to the citizens of this nation.